Hello, this is KYC News. We provide you with the most up-to-date and reliable information for the day. First and foremost, we want to achieve perfect health with a sincere desire. The Peruvian president is being investigated for corruption. Russia has released a doctor who was imprisoned for filming the horrors of Mariupol. Two people were killed in an explosion in Kabul's Kota Parwan Gurdwara. On Saturday morning, explosions and heavy shooting were reported inside Afghanistan's Kota Parwan Gurdwara in Kabul. Multiple explosions and shooting have been heard at a Sikh temple in Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, with many people thought dead in what is being characterized as a suspected ISIL terror attack, according to Mirror. The Gurdwara Kota Parwan, a Sikh center of worship in Kabul, has been the scene of 4 successive explosives, with firing continuing on Saturday morning. According to Tribune India.com, armed gunmen have entered the building and a siege is underway. According to rumors, up to 30 hostages may be kept on the second floor of the temple. According to eyewitness testimonies, numerous people have died and are being brought to the hospital. Inside the temple, there were about 30 individuals. We have no idea how many are living and how many are dead. We don't know what to do because the Taliban won't let us go inside, Gurnam Singh, a government official, said Reuters. The building's front entrance is on fire, and Taliban soldiers are preparing to attack the gunman inside, who is suspected of being from ISIL. According to reports, India's BJP political party's Manjinder Singh Sirsa met with Gurdwara Kota Parwan President Gurnam Singh, who confirmed that the attack began at 6 a.m. local time, when the first prayers of the day were being held. The Peruvian president is being investigated for corruption. President Pedro Castillo of Peru was questioned by national prosecutors on Friday as part of an investigation into allegations that he was the leader of a criminal organization that took bribes for public works contracts. Castillo had previously stated on Twitter that he wanted to clear up the accusations and rumors, in an act of transparency with the public and partnership with the judiciary. The president took a stroll through Lima's historic center, including a major thoroughfare that was closed to traffic. Security guards and anti-riot police, some on horseback and others on motorcycles, encircled him. Castillo shook the hands of several persons in the room, but he refused to answer reporters' questions. Hundreds of people used megaphones to shout "criminal" at the president, while others demanded that he be imprisoned. Juan Silva, the president's former transport minister, and 6 congressmen are also being investigated by prosecutors. The investigation stems from allegations that a criminal gang commanded by Castillo benefited from projects that were fraudulently assigned to several company leaders. This is the first time in Peruvian history that a sitting president has been investigated by the district attorney's office. People in Hanover demonstrate against the Turkish government's drone strike on Şengül. In Hanover, a demonstration was held against the Turkish government's drone strike on Şengül, which resulted in the deaths of a kid and his grandfather. Friends of Kurdistan denounced the Turkish state's attacks on Şengül in a rally in front of Hanover Hauptbahnhof. After a minute of silence, Hanover Assembly co-chair Sevim Devrim remarked that the outrage over the Turkish army's reprehensible attacks is growing with each passing day, adding, "Nobody should believe that we would abandon Şengül. This land will never be overrun by anyone." Russia has released a doctor who was imprisoned for filming the horrors of Mariupol. On Friday, Russian forces released a famed Ukrainian physician whose footage was smuggled out of the besieged city of Mariupol by an Associated Press crew 3 months after she was kidnapped on the city's streets. Yulia Payevska is known in Ukraine as Tyra, a nickname she adopted while playing the computer game World of Warcraft. She used a body camera to record 256 terabytes of her team's efforts to save the wounded, which included both Russian and Ukrainian forces, over the course of 2 weeks. She gave the clips to an Associated Press crew, the final international journalists in Mariupol, Ukraine, one of whom fled on March 15 with it inserted in a tampon. According to an Associated Press investigation, Russian agents kidnapped Tyra and a co-worker on March 16, the same day Russian bombing killed over 600 people in a theater in the city center. "I felt a tremendous sense of relaxation. Those sound like such common phrases, and I don't even know what to say," Vadim Puzanov, her husband, told the Associated Press late Friday, taking deep breaths to keep his emotions in check. Puzanov said he spoke with Tyra on the phone when she was en route to a hospital in Kyiv and was concerned about her health. Following rocket firing from Gaza, Israel launched airstrikes. The Israeli strikes were claimed by Palestinian media to have hit agricultural area in Gaza, but the Israeli military claims they were targeting Hamas positions. Following months of relative peace in the region, Israel resumed air attacks on the Gaza Strip after rocket fire from the Palestinian enclave targeted the city of Ashkelon in southern Israel. Israeli strikes on agricultural land in Gaza were reported by Palestinian media on Saturday, although the Israeli military stated they targeted military infrastructure belonging to Hamas, the Palestinian party that administers the region. Israel Defense Forces aircraft hit a number of Hamas terror targets in the Gaza Strip in response to the rocket launch, the Israeli military said in a statement. In Gaza or Israel, there were no immediate reports of casualties. Hamas did not immediately respond, nor did any of the enclave's other groups claim credit. The airstrike came just one day after Israel launched military assaults on Jenin in the occupied West Bank, killing 3 Palestinians and injuring 10 more. An Israeli observation balloon crashed and plummeted in the northern Gaza Strip on Friday as well. Baralalao, 24, Yusuf Salah, 23, and Laith Abu Surur, 24, were the men killed in Jenin, according to Palestinian news agency Wafa. One of those killed was a Hamas member, according to Hamas, but another group claiming to be affiliated with Palestinian rival Islamic Jihad claimed the dead men as its own. The last cross-border missiles were fired in April, when Israeli airplanes attacked a Hamas weapons manufacturing facility in the Gaza Strip, according to the IDF. Although the cross-border firing on Saturday did not appear to be a precursor to a larger escalation, violence has increased in Jerusalem, the occupied West Bank, and Israel in recent months. More than 60 Palestinians have been slain by Israeli forces this year, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, many of them in raids. Since March, 19 Israelis have been slain in a series of Palestinian attacks. Shireen Abu Akleh, an Al Jazeera journalist, was assassinated by Israeli soldiers in Jenin last month while documenting an Israeli army operation. When she was killed, she was wearing a flak jacket with the word "press" on it. Israel began an 11-day attack on the embattled Gaza Strip in May 2021. Israeli air and artillery bombardment claimed the lives of 253 Palestinians, including 66 children, and injured over 1,900 others. During the same time period, 12 persons were killed in Israel by rockets fired from Gaza by Hamas and other armed groups. Peace talks aimed at establishing a Palestinian state in East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza, which were mediated by the United States, collapsed in 2014 and show no signs of resuming. During a visit to the area in July, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden is set to meet with Israeli and Palestinian officials. Bangladesh floods have killed dozens of people and left 4 million people trapped. Officials in Bangladesh claimed on June 18 that monsoon rains killed at least 25 people and caused severe floods that trapped more than 4 million people. Floods are a constant threat to millions of people in Bangladesh's low-lying areas, but researchers warn climate change is increasing the frequency, fury, and unpredictability of these natural disasters. Over the last week, torrential rains have inundated large swaths of the country's northeast, forcing military to evacuate residents blocked off from neighboring settlements. Schools have been converted into relief shelters to house entire villages inundated by rivers that burst their banks in a couple of hours. By early Friday, the whole village was underwater, and we were all stranded, said Lokman, whose family resides in Company Ganj hamlet. After waiting all day on our roof, a neighbor came to our rescue with a handmade boat. My mom stated that she had never witnessed such floods in her life, added the 23-year-old. Another woman rescued from the rising floods, Osman Akhtar, said her family had gone 2 days without eating. We couldn't bring any of our belongings since the water rose so quickly, she explained. How can you cook anything when everything is submerged? Says the narrator. Since Friday afternoon, lightning strikes generated by the storms have killed at least 21 people across the South Asian nation, according to police officials. 3 children aged 12 to 14 were among those struck by lightning on Friday in the remote town of Nandale, according to local police head Mizanur Rahman. According to Police Inspector Nurul Islam of the port city of Chittagong, 4 more persons were killed when landslides struck their hillside homes. After a brief respite from the rains the previous day, flooding exacerbated on Saturday morning, according to Sylhet Region Chief Government Administrator Mosharraf Hossain. The situation is a disaster. floodwaters have stranded more than 4 million people. Hossain went on to say that practically the entire region was without power. Sylhet, Bangladesh's third-largest international airport, was forced to close due to flooding on Friday. Flooding is expected to worsen in Bangladesh and upstream in India's northeast over the next 2 days, according to forecasters. Before this week's rains, the Sylhet region was already reeling from the worst floods in nearly 2 decades, which hit the region late last month, killing at least 10 people and affecting 4 million more.